A paralyzed billionaire rolled into a blind date hoping to feel normal again. But instead the woman looked at his wheelchair, laughed, and humiliated him in front of the entire restaurant. What none of them expected was that the only person who defended him that night was the black waitress who wasn't even supposed to speak. Wait. Before we continue, if this story already has you hooked, hit subscribe right now. And tell us where you are watching from in the comments. I want to welcome you specially. Today's shout-out goes to Sophia from Oklahoma. Here on this channel, you're not just watching stories. You're part of them. Stay with me. Every story is bigger than the last, and I want you to be here when the next twist drops. The restaurant glowed with warm golden lights, the kind of place people booked months in advance. Wealthy couples laughed softly across candlelit tables, expensive perfumes filled the air. And in the middle of that perfection sat a man who didn't belong. Billy Williams, 32, billionaire, once the city's golden boy, now paralyzed from the waist down after the accident that destroyed everything. He hated the way people stared at him when he rolled through the front door, so he arrived early, before the crowd built. His assistant had begged him to try dating again. "You deserve happiness, sir." So here he was, in a crisp suit, hands trembling on the armrests of his wheelchair, waiting for someone he had never met. Her name was Harper, beautiful, accomplished, and, according to her messages, open to meeting a good man. Billy swallowed hard, practicing a smile as he sat at a reserved table by the window. Then he saw her. She walked in wearing a red satin dress and a smirk that could cut glass. Her eyes skimmed the tables until they stopped on him. For a moment, Billy thought she was simply surprised. Then her lips curled. She whispered something to the hostess, and both women looked at him. The hostess looked uncomfortable. "Harper," she laughed, loud enough to turn heads. Billy's heart dropped. Harper strutted toward him on tall heels, eyes sharp with amusement, not interest. When she reached the table, she didn't sit. She didn't smile. She just folded her arms and said, "Hey, this is a joke, right?" Billy blinked. I'm Billy." "Oh, I know who you are," she snapped. "But they didn't tell me you were—" Her eyes dropped to the wheelchair. "This." Conversations around them slowed. A couple at the next table stared. A waiter froze mid-step. Billy felt his throat tighten. "If you'd like to sit—" "Sit?" Harper scoffed. "Sweetheart, I don't date broken men. If I wanted charity work, I'd volunteer." A few gasps rippled through the restaurant. Billy's breath left him in a painful rush. His fingers curled around the wheels of his chair. He wished he could disappear, sink into the floor, teleport anywhere except here. But Harper wasn't done. She placed a manicured hand on her hip and tossed her hair. "Next time, don't waste my time. I need a man who can actually stand when a woman walks into the room." People whispered. Billy's face burned. His chest ached with a humiliation he thought he'd gotten used to. Harper spun around, muttering, "Unbelievable!" and strutted toward the door, laughing with two friends waiting outside. Billy lowered his head. It felt like all the air in his lungs had vanished. Then quietly, almost gently, he heard a voice behind him. "Sir, are you okay?" Billy looked up. A black waitress stood there, holding a glass of water. Her dark, curly hair was tied up neatly, and her brown eyes were warm with something he hadn't felt in months, human kindness. Her name tag read, Maya. She didn't look at him with pity. She didn't look away awkwardly. She didn't pretend she hadn't seen everything. She looked at him like he was a person. Billy tried to speak, but all that came out was a shaky breath. Maya set the glass down gently. "I'm sorry you had to experience that," she whispered. "No one deserves to be spoken to like that." Billy swallowed hard. "Thank you." Maya? She tilted her head. That wasn't kindness, that was basic respect. Billy's chest tightened again, but for a different reason this time. No one had spoken to him like that in a long time. Maya glanced toward the door where Harper had left, then back at Billy. Would you like a moment? Or maybe someone to talk to? For the first time that night, Billy didn't feel invisible. For the first time in months, he felt seen. And as the restaurant returned to its normal hum, Billy realized something. A woman he'd never met had broken him. But a woman he wasn't supposed to notice had just saved him. The restaurant hummed with polite murmurs again, but Billy couldn't hear any of it. His ears were still ringing with Harper's words, the sting of humiliation clinging to his skin like frost. He kept his gaze fixed on the glass of water Maya had placed before him. Condensation slid down the side, forming a small puddle on the tablecloth, something simple, something real, something that didn't judge him. A soft shadow fell across the table. Would you like fresh water? Maya asked gently. Billy blinked. He hadn't expected her to return. People usually did one of two things: pity him for a few seconds, or pretend he wasn't there. But Maya stood with a calm patience that startled him. No, he whispered, clearing his throat. This is fine, thank you. He tried to sound steady, but the words broke on the way out. His voice cracked, the same way it had cracked in hospitals, in therapy rooms, in empty nights spent staring at his useless legs. Maya didn't flinch. She didn't look away. She didn't rush. Instead, she pulled out the chair across from him, paused for permission, and only sat when he gave a tiny nod. Billy kept his eyes down. You don't have to sit with me, he murmured. I know. Maya folded her hands on the table. But you look like you need someone to sit with you. His chest tightened. He wanted to answer, but his throat felt like it was closing. Maya continued, her voice soft but firm. Do you want to talk about what happened? Billy forced a faint laugh, the tired, hollow kind. What's there to talk about? She saw the chair. That was enough. She saw the chair, Maya agreed. But she didn't see you. He lifted his eyes slowly. Maya's gaze held no pity, only understanding. A kind he had only seen in people who knew their own kind of pain. Billy swallowed. I don't think people see me anymore. I see you, Maya said simply. His breath caught, sharp, unexpected. The three words landed in his chest with more force than Harper's entire performance of cruelty. Maya reached forward, noticing his trembling fingers. Give me your hand. He hesitated. She didn't push, just waited. Slowly, Billy let his hand rest on the table. Maya placed a napkin in it. You're shaking, she whispered. He hadn't even realized he was. I haven't been out like this in a while, he admitted. Crowds make me feel exposed. Crowds are loud, Maya replied. People too, but you're safe here. Safe. When was the last time he'd felt that? He exhaled shakily. Thank you for helping me. It's my job, she said with a small smile. No. Billy lifted his eyes again, meeting hers fully this time. It wasn't your job to step in. Most people pretend nothing's happening. Most people are cowards, Maya said. I'm not. Something warm flickered in his chest. She leaned back slightly, studying him. Do you come here often? He shook his head. Not anymore. Before the accident. This was one of my favorite places. And after the accident? Billy looked down at his useless legs. After the accident, eating in public feels like a performance. People watch the chair. They watch how I move. They watch how I don't move. Maya nodded slowly. Can I tell you what I saw when you came in? He tensed. I saw a man trying, she said. trying to be part of the world again.
That takes courage. His breath stilled. Courage? He hadn't felt courageous since the day he learned he would never walk again. Harper didn't see that, Maya continued. But I did. Billy rubbed the edge of the napkin between his fingers. Another silence slipped in, but it wasn't uncomfortable. It was grounding. Then the waiter appeared, nervously. So, you about your bill? Billy felt humiliation stir again. He hadn't even touched the menu. His card was in his pocket, but his hands were still shaking too much to retrieve it. Before he could react, Maya stood. "I've got it," she said. The waiter blinked. "But it's handled," Maya insisted, using the same tone one uses when putting out a small fire before it spreads. Billy's mouth parted in surprise. "Maya,
You don't have to." "I know I don't have to." She looked at him firmly. "I want to." "No, please," he said, voice thick. "I don't want charity." "This isn't charity." Her eyes softened. "It's dignity." He froze. Dignity? A word he hadn't tasted in so long it felt foreign on his tongue. "You've been through enough tonight." Maya's voice remained steady. "Let me handle this one thing." Billy didn't know what to say. He just nodded, unable to trust his voice. Maya walked to the counter, spoke quietly to the manager, and slipped her own card into the machine. The moment she returned, she sat again like nothing extraordinary had happened. To Maya, maybe it wasn't. To Billy, it was monumental. Nobody paid for him anymore. Nobody looked after him. Nobody even noticed when he disappeared from events or social circles. But here was a woman who had known him for 10 minutes and had done what the world had forgotten how to do. She saw him. Maya glanced at him again. "Tell me something. Why did you agree to a blind date?" Billy sighed. "My assistant thinks I should stop hiding from life." "And what do you think?" "I think life stopped wanting me after the accident." Maya shook her head. "Life didn't stop wanting you. People stopped understanding you. There's a difference." He stared at her. She spoke with such certainty, such quiet conviction, that he wondered what battles she had fought to learn these truths. "Do you want to leave?" she asked, nodding toward the door. "Some fresh air might help." Billy hesitated. Crowds always got worse near exits. But Maya wasn't rushing him. She wasn't pushing him. She wasn't treating him like a fragile thing. So he nodded. Maya stood first, stepping behind his chair. "Is it okay if I help?" "Yeah," he murmured. She guided his wheelchair gently, never gripping too hard, never jerking it like some people did. She moved with him, not against him. When they reached the front entrance, the night air greeted them with a cool softness. The chaos inside the restaurant faded behind the glass doors. Billy inhaled deeply, a breath that didn't hurt this time. Maya moved beside him, folding her arms. "Better?" "Much," he whispered. The street lamps glowed above them, spilling warm light across Maya's skin. She looked tired, probably near the end of a long shift, yet she stood with him as if nothing else mattered. Billy glanced at her. "Do you always help strangers like this?" She shrugged. "Only the ones who need it." "And how did you know I needed it?" Maya turned to him. "Because you look like someone trying hard not to break." His jaw tightened. His throat burned. She continued softly. "People like that, I don't walk past them." Billy looked away quickly, blinking hard. "You're different." "So are you," Maya replied. "You just forgot that for a while." He let her words settle into the quiet. A few cars passed. A breeze tugged at the hem of her apron. Somewhere inside, a bottle opened with a faint pop. Then Maya asked, "Do you have someone waiting at home?" Billy shook his head. Not anymore. My fiancé left after the accident. Because of the wheelchair? Because I wasn't the man she signed up for. Maya's expression darkened. Then she didn't deserve you in the first place. He huffed a soft, surprised laugh. Most people wouldn't agree. I'm not most people, Maya said. Billy looked at her again, really seeing her. The quiet strength, the calm intensity, the way she held herself with dignity no matter what the world threw at her. What about you? He asked. Anyone waiting for you? Just bills, she said with a small smirk. And a cat who thinks he pays rent. Billy smiled for the first time that night. A real smile, not the brittle ones he forced for reporters. Maya noticed. There it is. What? Your actual smile, she said softly. It looks good on you. The warmth in his chest expanded, gently, carefully, like something waking from a deep sleep. I should get back inside, she said reluctantly. My shift isn't over. Billy nodded, though he didn't want her to leave. Maya stepped closer, touching the side of his chair, not pushing, just grounding him for one last moment. You're not broken, Billy, she whispered. You're just hurting. That's not the same thing. His breath caught. And if no one else tells you this tonight, she added, you handled everything with more grace than that woman ever deserved. He couldn't speak, couldn't move, could barely breathe. Maya offered him a soft smile, warm enough to thaw the shame frozen inside him. I'll be inside if you need anything, she said. Then she walked back into the restaurant, leaving Billy alone on the sidewalk, but no longer feeling alone. For the first time in months, he felt something he thought he had lost forever. Hope. Billy didn't plan to return. He told himself he wouldn't. He told himself last night had been enough humiliation for one lifetime, the blind date, the stares, the whispers, the pity. But when he woke up the next morning, all he could think about was the look in Maya's eyes. Not pity, not fear, not disgust, understanding, a look no one had given him in months. So he found himself rolling back into that same restaurant at noon, telling his driver it was just to say thank you, though they both knew that wasn't the full truth. The lunch rush was calmer than the dinner crowd, the lights were softer, conversations were quieter, and tucked at the far corner near the windows, Maya stood polishing menus, curls pulled into a new bun, apron tied neatly around her waist. She didn't notice him at first, but when she finally glanced up, her entire face lit up. Not a polite smile. Not a customer service smile, a smile that reached her eyes. You came back, she said, walking toward him. Billy cleared his throat. I wanted to thank you for last night. Maya folded her arms with a knowing smirk. You already thanked me last night. I meant a proper thank you, he insisted. Mm-hmm. She raised a brow. Or maybe you just needed someone to talk to. Billy froze. She was right. Painfully right. And for some reason, he didn't mind her seeing through him. Maya pulled out a chair and sat. So, talk. Billy opened his mouth, paused, then exhaled. I don't know where to start. How about from the part where you stopped living? Billy's eyes widened. Excuse me? Maya shrugged lightly. You've been surviving, not living. There's a difference. He wasn't used to people speaking to him so directly. Everyone tiptoed around him, doctors, nurses, assistants, always careful, always polite, always distant. But Maya? She treated him like a person, not a patient. After a stretch of silence, Billy finally spoke. The accident took a lot from me, not just my legs. Maya leaned forward. What else did it take? My confidence, he admitted. My sense of worth, my fiancé, everything. Did it take your heart? Maya asked softly. Billy hesitated. Sometimes I feel like it did. Good, she replied, surprising him. Because if you can still feel the loss, then your heart is still there. He stared at her. How could a complete stranger know exactly what to say? Before he could respond, whispers drifted across the dining room. That's Billy Williams. The paralyzed billionaire? Poor guy. Look at his chair. Billy stiffened, his hands curled into fists on the armrests. Maya noticed immediately. Hey, she said gently. Look at me. He tried to pull his gaze away from the whispering customers, but shame tugged harder. Maya reached out and placed her hand over his. Warm, grounding, steady. Don't let people define you, she murmured. They're just seeing a moment. Not your story. Billy swallowed. Her hand didn't flinch. Her voice didn't shake. She wasn't embarrassed to be seen with him. But then, as if summoned by the universe to test every ounce of his progress, the restaurant door opened, and Harper walked in. Billy's heart plummeted. She spotted him instantly. Her red lip smile curled into a cruel grin. Well, well, well. If it isn't Wheels. Maya's chair screeched as she stood. Billy flinched. He didn't want a scene. But Harper strutted closer, like a shark scenting blood. You're back? Harper laughed. Did another woman agree to babysit you today? Billy's jaw tightened. He hated how powerless he felt when she stood over him. Harper leaned closer, flipping her hair dramatically. You really don't learn, do you? You're... Enough. Maya's voice cut clean through the tension. Harper blinked, turning toward her. Excuse you? You heard me. Maya stepped between Harper and Billy. Keep your insults to yourself, Harper scoffed. And who are you, his caretaker? His friend, Maya said without hesitation. Billy's breath caught. Friend. No one had used that word for him in months. Harper rolled her eyes. You poor thing. This is what you've reduced yourself to? Hiding behind waitresses now? Maya took one step forward, and Harper instinctively stepped back. Let me make one thing clear, Maya said calmly. You don't talk to him like that. Not in this restaurant. Not anywhere. Gasps echoed around them. Billy stared at Maya like she had grown wings. Harper scoffed again, cheeks reddening. You're insane! No, Maya said, voice steady. I'm just not cruel. With a final glare, Harper grabbed her purse, muttered something under her breath, and stormed out, heels clicking furiously on the tile. Silence fell. The entire restaurant stared. Then Maya turned back to Billy, her expression softening instantly. Are you okay? No one had asked him that in this tone. Firm, protective, gentle. Since the accident. Billy exhaled shakily. You didn't have to do that. Yes, she said. I did. Maya. His voice cracked. No one has stood up for me like that in a long time. She smiled then. A warm, steady smile that melted the shame still clinging to him. Well, she said lightly. Get used to it, Billy laughed. It was small at first, a quiet exhale mixed with disbelief. But then it grew. Warm, real, even a little shaky, the first genuine laugh since the day everything changed. Maya grinned. There it is again. What? That smile? She nudged him playfully. I told you it looks good on you. Billy shook his head, smiling wider. Are you always like this? Like what? Strong. Maya blushed slightly but lifted her chin. Somebody has to be. Billy looked at her, really looked. And for the first time in months, he didn't feel broken. He didn't feel small. He didn't feel invisible. He felt alive. As Maya walked away to serve another table, Billy watched her with a quiet awe he couldn't hide. Harper's cruelty hadn't crushed him tonight. The whispers hadn't drowned him. The memories hadn't swallowed him whole, because a woman who didn't owe him anything had shown him something the world had taken away from him. Friendship, respect, hope. And as Maya glanced back at him with a soft smile, Billy realized something dangerous, something beautiful. He wanted to see her again. He needed to. Not because she saved him, but because when she looked at him, he didn't feel paralyzed. The dinner rush died slowly, like the last embers of a fire. By 10 p.m., the restaurant was quiet, except for the clinking of glasses and the soft hum of distant music. Maya wiped down the final table, exhaustion tugging at her limbs. When she looked up, Billy was still there, waiting patiently near the entrance, hands resting on the wheels of his chair. He wasn't in a rush. He wasn't checking his phone. He was just there. And when their eyes met, he smiled. "You stayed late," she said, walking toward him. "I didn't want you going out alone," he replied, voice soft. Her heart warmed at the simple, protective instinct. "I close up every night, Billy. And every night you walk to that dark bus stop." Maya's steps slowed. "How do you know about the bus stop?" He lowered his gaze. "I asked the hostess." Maya blinked. This man who was supposed to be detached, aloof, unreachable, noticed her. Cared enough to ask about her safety. "Come on," he said gently. "Let me walk you out." She knew he meant "let me roll beside you," but she loved the normalcy of his phrasing. They left together, the restaurant manager locking the door behind them. The night was cool, the streetlights buzzing faintly overhead. Maya tucked her hands into her apron pockets. "You don't have to escort me," she teased lightly. "And you don't have to pretend you're not tired," Billy answered. She laughed softly. "Fair." For a moment it was peaceful, until a sharp voice cut through the air. "Maya!" She froze. A tall, broad man stepped out from behind the building, hoodie up, jaw tight, eyes burning with something bitter. Her stomach dropped. "Jamal," she whispered. Billy's eyes snapped to her. "You know him?" Maya clenched her teeth. "My ex." Jamal's glare flicked between her and Billy's wheelchair. "So this is what you're doing now? Entertaining cripples for tips?" Billy's heart slammed painfully inside his chest. Maya's face changed. In one breath, she went from warm to guarded, the way someone does when they've survived battles no one else sees. "Leave, Jamal," she said quietly. "I'm not doing this tonight." But he stepped closer, voice rising. "You think you're too good for me now, acting like some saint because you help the disabled?" "Stop," Maya warned. Billy tried to wheel forward, but the uneven pavement made his wheels catch. "Don't talk to her like that." "Oh, look," Jamal sneered. "It talks." Billy's fists tightened. When Jamal reached for Maya's arm, Billy's voice cracked like a whip across the night air. "Let her go!" But Billy couldn't stand, couldn't move, couldn't protect her physically. Maya yanked her arm back. "Don't touch me!" Jamal laughed, a short, ugly laugh. "You belong with me." "No," Maya snapped. "I don't belong to anyone." Jamal grabbed her wrist again, hard. Maya winced. "Maya!" Billy's voice broke with helplessness. "Let her go, man." Before things escalated further, a large figure rushed forward. "Hey!" the restaurant security guard barked. "Back off!" Jamal turned, startled. "You harassing staff?" the guard growled. Jamal spitted curses, but released Maya's arm. He glared at Billy one last time, then backed away into the shadows. "You're lucky this time," he hissed. "Real lucky." The guard stepped between them until Jamal finally disappeared down the alley. Maya stood frozen, chest rising and falling too fast. Billy stared at her arm, already reddening where Jamal had grabbed her. "Maya," Billy's voice trembled. "Come here." She took 2 shaky breaths and walked to him, trying to steady herself. "I'm fine," she whispered. "No," Billy said quietly. "You're not." The guard approached. "You all right, miss?" Maya nodded. "Thank you." "Call us if he comes back," the guard said before returning to the building. Silence settled between her and Billy. Maya's hands were trembling. Billy looked at her, really looked, and his heart clenched, not because of Jamal, but because Maya was trying so hard to look unbothered and failing. "Maya," he said gently, "please let me take you home." She shook her head. "I don't want to bother your driver." "You're not bothering anyone," he insisted. "Please." Her eyes softened. She nodded. Billy signaled his driver, who pulled up immediately in a sleek black SUV. The ramp lowered smoothly and Billy rolled in first. Maya hesitated at the door. "You okay?" Billy asked. She attempted a smile. "Yeah." "Don't lie," he said softly. Her breath caught. She climbed into the back seat beside him. The door closed. And the world fell quiet. The ride started in silence. The city lights flashed across their faces, flickering like old memories. Maya stared out the window, trying to swallow her fear. Billy watched her. "Did he used to treat you like that?" he asked quietly. Maya's jaw clenched. "Worse." Billy's chest tightened. "I'm sorry." "He wasn't always like that," she murmured. "Or maybe he was, and I just didn't want to see it." Billy nodded slowly. "People show their truth when you stop giving them chances." Maya turned to him. "Is that what happened with your ex-fiancée?" Billy paused. Then he nodded. "Yes." "What was she like?" Maya asked softly. "Beautiful," Billy said. "Kind?" Maya guessed. He shook his head. "No, just beautiful." They shared a small, sad smile. Maya tucked her knees into her chest, curling slightly toward him. "After the accident, she said she couldn't handle the burden of taking care of someone like me." Maya's eyes softened. "You're not a burden, Billy?" "I felt like one." "You're not," she repeated firmly. He swallowed hard, a beat of silence. Then Maya whispered, "Jamal made me feel the same way." Their eyes met, raw, vulnerable, honest. "Funny, isn't it?" she said quietly. "How strong people can feel so unworthy?" Billy nodded. "Pain changes you." "So does hope," Maya replied. The SUV hummed softly beneath them as the city skyline blurred into the quieter streets of Maya's neighborhood. Billy watched her fingers twisting nervously in her lap. "You're shaking," he murmured. "Adrenaline?" she whispered. He lifted his hand slightly, tentative, unsure. Maya saw the gesture and gently placed her hand on his. His skin warmed instantly. Her hand was small, soft, trembling slightly, but she didn't pull away. Not from him, not from the moment. Billy swallowed. "Maya." "Thank you for defending me today." She looked up. "You defended me too." "No," he said softly. "I tried to. You were the brave one." Maya gave a small breathy laugh. "You do realize I was terrified, right?" "You didn't look it." "That's the trick," she whispered. He smiled. "You're something else. And you're impossible to ignore," she admitted, cheeks warming. Billy's heart flipped. A small, dangerous, beautiful thing. The SUV turned onto her street. Her building came into view, a small, tidy apartment complex with flickering porch lights. The car slowed. Neither of them moved. Maya shifted closer, lowering her voice. "Billy?" "Yes?" "Thank you for making me feel safe tonight." He felt something deep inside him shift, like a locked door creaking open for the first time. "You are safe with me," he whispered. Their hands stayed intertwined. Her breath trembled, and in that quiet, still moment, surrounded by city lights and shadows, something passed between them. Not desperation, not gratitude, something softer, warmer, undeniable, a spark, the first one, small, but real. Maya finally exhaled. "Good night, Billy." "Good night, Maya." She stepped out of the car, turned back at the door, and gave him one last look, the kind that made his heart ache pleasantly. The SUV pulled away slowly. Billy watched her until she disappeared inside the building, and as they drove off, he leaned his head back, touched the hand she had held, and whispered into the dark, "I think I'm falling." The following evening, Billy called Maya. His voice was calmer than she had expected, more human than the distant tycoon she'd glimpsed through headlines and whispered rumors. "Dinner tomorrow," he said simply. "At my place. Just you. No one else. No pressure." Maya hesitated. Her instincts screamed caution. Billionaires weren't like this, weren't meant to be accessible, weren't meant to invite someone like her into their private world. And yet, there was something in his tone that didn't demand. It invited. "Okay," she whispered finally, the word trembling on her lips. The next evening, the mansion rose before her like a quiet fortress of glass and steel, its vast lawns lit by subtle lamps that scattered pools of gold across manicured grass. Billy met her at the door, dressed simply. Jeans and a soft grey sweater, far from the tailored suit she had expected. The casualness disarmed her immediately. "Welcome," he said, his eyes holding hers for a moment too long, almost shyly. Inside, the space was a mix of minimalist modern and something deeply personal. Paintings leaned against walls, half-finished canvases sprawled across the studio in the corner, and the faint scent of turpentine hung in the air. Maya's curiosity piqued instantly. "You paint?" she asked, gesturing to the colors and brushes. Billy shrugged, a little embarrassed. "It's a way to deal. Helps me think, helps me feel something when everything else feels heavy." Maya stepped closer to a canvas, studying bold strokes of deep blue and chaotic orange. Each painting carried emotion she didn't know she could see, raw vulnerability hidden behind the polished walls of his public persona. "You're incredible," she whispered, almost to herself. "I mean, these feel alive." Billy's lips curved faintly. "I haven't had anyone really notice them before. Most people just see the headlines. Billionaire, investor, celebrity. Nobody sees this." Maya turned to him. Her voice softened, steady and honest. "Well, I do, and I think it's amazing." For a moment he studied her, as if weighing her words against a lifetime of doubt. Then, tentatively, he asked, "Would you maybe help me with one? Just paint with me?" She hesitated, then smiled. "Sure, let's do it." The evening passed in a quiet rhythm of shared creativity. Maya dipped her brush into the colors Billy chose, guided his hand when he faltered, cheered when he tried something new. And in return, he began to open up, talking about the depression that had shadowed him for years, the guilt of accidents, the isolation of wealth that seemed to distance him from real people. "You make it easier," he admitted at one point, his hand hovering over a canvas but not touching it. "Easier to feel like I can actually live again." Maya's chest tightened. She didn't know whether to be proud or afraid. Proud for breaking through his walls, afraid of how deep she was already stepping into a life so far from her own. But then Billy smiled, a soft, genuine thing, rare and fragile, and she knew she was exactly where she was supposed to be. In the weeks that followed, her visits became routine, though she never stayed too long, always keeping her world intact. She noticed subtle changes. Billy started physical therapy again, pushing himself with careful discipline, guided by her encouragement. He laughed more easily, joked about trivial things, and even began taking small walks in the estate gardens without his cane. "You're relentless," he said one evening, smiling through a grimace after a particularly strenuous stretch. "I just can't watch someone with so much potential hide from the world," she replied, teasing. "You deserve to live, Billy, not just exist." It was an honest confession, unpolished, and it landed heavier than either of them expected, but not everyone was pleased. Harper, still bitter about her own losses and humiliations, had started circulating rumors. At the gala, whispered words and pointed glances now trailed Maya, suggestions that she was chasing money, that her interest in Billy was entirely transactional. Maya tried to ignore it, but the sting of judgment cut deep. She was here for him because she cared, because she saw him, not because of the zeros in his bank account. And yet, the words spread like wildfire, coating the restaurant where she worked with gossip, suspicion, and quiet judgment. Billy noticed immediately. One evening, when Maya hesitated at the door, avoiding eye contact with the waitstaff whispering about her, he stopped her. "Do you know what they're saying?" he asked quietly. She shook her head, but the tears came anyway, hot and unrelenting. "I don't care," she whispered, though she did. She cared more than she wanted to admit. Billy took a step closer, placing a steady hand on her shoulder. His voice was low, firm, and unmistakable. "I don't care either. And if anyone says anything, I'll make sure they know the truth. You're not here for money. You're here because you care. And that's something no one can touch." It was the first time he had defended her publicly, the first time he had declared, quietly, powerfully, that he saw her for who she truly was, and in that moment Maya realized something profound. She wasn't alone. Their bond deepened in small, unspoken ways. A hand brushed against hers while passing a palette, a shared laugh over a spilled cup of coffee in the studio, Billy making tea exactly how she liked it without asking. The mansion, once intimidating, began to feel like a home she hadn't known she needed. One evening, as they sat on the veranda watching the sun dip below the horizon, Billy turned to her. "You've changed something in me," he admitted. "Not just my habits, not just my routines, but how I see myself. You make me want to heal." Maya looked down, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. "And you make me believe that even people like you, people with everything, still need help, need care, and can be real." The air between them vibrated with a tension neither of them tried to name, yet both felt. It wasn't lust or desperation. It was something far more intimate, trust, respect, and the fragile beginnings of love that had no regard for status, only connection. That night, as she left, Billy's hand lingered at hers, a silent promise, a quiet acknowledgement. "Tomorrow," he said, almost as if testing her patience, "we paint again." Maya smiled softly, feeling lighter than she had in years, carrying a warmth that had nothing to do with wealth and everything to do with being seen. And as she walked away, the mansion behind her no longer seemed intimidating. It was simply a place of beginnings. Yet outside, Harper's whispers lingered. Rumors were like shadows. They could follow, twist, and threaten. Maya knew challenges would come, and she braced herself. But for the first time, she also knew she had someone in her corner. Not just anyone, a billionaire who had power, influence, and a will to protect her, but more than that, someone who believed in her. And for Maya, that belief was the greatest gift of all. The air in the therapy room was thick with quiet determination. Billy adjusted himself on the parallel bars, muscles tense, eyes focused. His therapist watched him carefully, then nodded. "You've made remarkable progress," she said, a rare smile breaking her professional restraint. "If you keep this up, there's a very real chance you'll walk again." Billy's gaze softened, not on the therapist but on Maya, who had been quietly standing just outside the gym, her hand nervously clutching her bag. He turned, a smile tugging at the corners of his lips, eyes shining with something more than hope. "You know," he said, voice low but firm, "I wouldn't be here without you. You gave me the will to fight again." Maya's chest tightened. She had never imagined that her small encouragements, her simple belief in him, could mean so much. She shook her head softly. "Billy, you did this yourself. I just reminded you how strong you are." The next evening, the restaurant, once the stage of his public humiliation, was bustling. Harper had returned, whispering and sneering, hoping to sting Maya once more. But this time Billy was there, composed, eyes sharp. "You're wrong again, Harper," he said, voice loud enough for those nearby to hear. "Maya isn't here for anyone but herself, and she certainly isn't chasing money. She saved me, and she deserves respect." The restaurant fell silent for a heartbeat, Harper's mouth opening, closing, unable to form a retort. Billy's eyes, unwavering, met Maya's. She felt an unexpected surge of pride and relief. Then, without warning, Billy stepped forward, his cane abandoned at his side. Customers gasped softly as he moved, unsteady at first, then with more confidence. His leg carried weight, determination, and hope. Maya's breath caught as he reached her, hand outstretched. She took it, her fingers trembling against his. He smiled, a mixture of nerves and joy, then said the words that made her heart ache with a happiness she hadn't dared to hope for. "The day she broke me was the day you found me. You're the woman I want to live for." Maya's tears spilled freely and the restaurant erupted, not in gossip or judgment, but in applause. Strangers cheered, clapped and smiled at the moment of genuine love and triumph before them. Billy took another step, then another, moving his leg for the first time in public, walking toward her, each step a testament to his recovery and to her impact on his life. The cane stayed behind. It was no longer needed. When he reached her, he pulled her close, and for a long moment, the world fell away. Harper slunk into the background, powerless, as Maya and Billy stood together, stronger than the pain that had once defined him, stronger than the rumors, stronger than fear. And in that quiet, victorious embrace, both of them knew something profound. No matter the challenges ahead, they had found a love that healed, a love that endured, a love that transformed everything. Thank you for watching this story to the end. If you enjoyed this story, you will surely love the next one. It's as crazier and more intriguing as you can ever imagine. So do check it out. Click on the image showing on your screen right now to watch the next one.